What's up, Everyday Athlete Podcast Network listeners? Thank you for joining us on this latest episode of the Fireside Chat. I'm going to be joined by Krista Parks as well as December Ambrose, and I hope I pronounced his last name correctly. I forgot to ask him in the green room, but we're going to have a fun conversation and an interesting conversation as December is in a wheelchair. And so we want to get into the conversation about the ADA and how races and race directors also work with disabled athletes. Before I bring them forward, please do me a favor, subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. I'm asking for 5 stars. If you're inclined to give us anything less than 5 stars, please do me a favor and email me, jason@runtrimag.com, before you do, because I'd love to hear your feedback so I can make any changes to earn your 5 stars. In addition to that, please check out the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse on runtrimag.com under the shop tab. Join our clubhouse. It is $15 a year or $25 for a lifetime. If you want to add our Enjoy the Journey hat, I recommend you do so now. We are down to approximately 10 hats left in inventory. So add that to your cart for an extra $25, making it $40 or $50 the first time. And if you're a lifetime member, you don't have to pay for it ever again. And if you go for the yearly route, it'll be $15 thereafter. And then lastly, every Monday morning, there is going to be Shout Out Nation. If you have an everyday athlete you wish to nominate for doing something that everyday athletes do that often goes unnoticed, building community, talking about their DNFs openly, talking about their opportunity to have done something for another athlete, anything along those lines, an achievement outside of the world of endurance sports, send it over to me, jason@runtrimag.com, or DM me at runtrimag on all of the social media platforms so that we can start to spread more happiness and joy and love across the world, as opposed to the rage bait, clicky, let's get angry about everything in the world type of stuff that seems to permeate every corner of the internet. So that's all my ramblings. I hope you've got through it all and you've stuck with me for the last 2.5 minutes as I bring forward December and Krista, and we get to have a great conversation. December, Krista, how are you? December, I'll ask you first. How are you?
After my marathon, it went Monday. It was kind of okay, but now I'm like, okay, I'm good now.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you take that recovery very seriously too. No skipping out on the recovery parts of this whole process.
Yeah, that's the thing. Today I was just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna test something today, and then it went pretty okay, but I was like not heavily like training myself. I guess it was like testing myself how I'm going to be like, oh, I'm gonna test this out and all stuff. So
I want to get into the conversation about you being a disabled athlete here in a minute. But Krista, before I ask you how you're doing, I want the listeners to know Krista is a member of our Everyday Athlete Clubhouse, and she messaged me probably 3 or 4 weeks ago about bringing December onto this Fireside Chat podcast. She recommended and nominated December, and I was super happy to have him join us and have a member of our community bring somebody forward who deserves to have their story be shared, not just in our corner of the internet, but now that you're listening to this episode or watching it on YouTube, wherever you live. So Krista, first, thank you for nominating and bringing December to my attention. And then secondly, how are you doing today?
I am doing good, and you're welcome. I got to watch him and a couple other wheelchair athletes at a race. Yeah, it was August last year. It was Brookhaven. So I got to hang out with them for the day. And then when me and December were talking, I think that was 3 or 4 weeks ago. I can't remember when it was. But he was telling me his why he's doing it. And I'm like, Jason, I need to see if Jason will take nominations, because this is something that, even I'm learning about, because I've been trying to help December out as well. So I'm learning stuff, and it's just like you see things from a different viewpoint than like what we do as runners. it's a little different.
So December, she laid a pretty hard road for you to follow here with this why. She made it sound uber special. So why are you out here racing half marathon distances? And I believe that's what you raced this past weekend, correct? A half marathon?
Yeah, this was last Sunday. This was on the 29th. This was for the 88 people or persons that has, like, I wanna I want to motivate other other people that has that has that has that has disabilities with like, you know how, how are you going to start this, or how are you going to, like, this and that. The thing is that running is pretty self-centered. Like, you run, and the thing is, you can't make the thing is you gotta have that stride, go even further, to be better for you, and for anybody else that is working.
I hear you. So let's paint the picture for the audience. Were you born and having to use a wheelchair, or were you an able-bodied athlete and something happened where you wound up in a wheelchair?
Well, Jason, I was I was w- when I was born, 11 months old, till 11 months old, I got a stroke, and some way, the the um the doctor says that, I had a CP, that's like cerebral palsy. But now it's like they know it's like a stroke, because my brain had a little bit of a, uh, my brain had a little hiccup, but I'm good now. So for this, I've been I haven't been running since a couple of years, but now I'm back up on things. So
So you're going to be an inspiring story to somebody else who is dealing with CP and is potentially in a wheelchair, and other athletes in general. Was there somebody that inspired or motivated you a couple of years ago to get back into running, as you say?
I mean, there was one guy who, hey, can you know I was living I was thinking, okay, my dad was in the uh, military, and some way, I I I met up this friend of mine, and he said that, if you want to change something, you gotta change yourself first. And the thing is that, basically, he just ran up to me and say, "You want to run? Let's go." And the thing is, running. By then, I was like hooked up. Like, I was like hooked on running. And how much I when the you know military life is like a little bit tough in, you know different countries. I stopped, and then a couple of years later, when my dad eventually retired to Norman, this guy Chad, um who owns the neighborhood bicycles, that first, this is a story, because I was looking for a bike, called not called not wheelchair, and then we were like, looking for it and all that stuff. And then said he asked me, "How about you train yourself to run again?" I'm like skeptical, but I was like, "Hey, I'm not run again." So basically, I waited for like 2 to get this box, this but we will act 6, and that's like that's the wheelchair mode into it, and just basically I was just like hooked on running since then. So I was like, okay, I got you. So yeah.
I appreciate the answer, December. Krista, I want to turn to you because December gave us his why, but I want to know why you recommended or nominated, for lack of a better phrase, December to be on the show. What was it about him and his story that you were like, I got to talk to Jason about this?
Well, like you mentioned, I am in the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse. And, you know, they are, wheelchair athletes, disabled athletes, they're everyday athletes just like any of us. But they don't get talked about as much. When I was in college, because my degree is actually in web development, web design, I actually had a whole class on web accessibility, which that for me brought kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things, that I don't realize on a day to day basis, that I don't come across, I don't have to worry about. And then watching them at like Brookhaven, because there was him and there was 2 other wheelchair athletes there as far as that goes, and just watching it and then hearing them talk as far as them racing and all that other stuff, it's just like they're real, they're no different than us
I was
as
gonna
runners.
I was gonna ask, did it sound like an able-bodied conversation?
Most of it, yes.
Yeah. So were there points in the conversation that you heard that made you think we need to do better, not just at the races, but also in conversations? And if you remember, what were those points that were being made by December and the other 2 athletes that were in the wheelchairs?
Porta potties.
Oh,
There was a wheelchair accessible porta potty there, and they were also excited about that. And it's one of those things is like you start thinking about other races that I've been to, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen one.
mhm.
Even running, the bigger race like the Oklahoma City Memorial race, it's like, that you get the bigger marathon and stuff like that, and they have like rows of porta potties and stuff like that. And I was like, I started thinking about it. I'm like, something that's so simple for me, it's like they're getting excited about. And I actually, one of the people that has involvement on that race, I actually went to after I heard them talking about that. And I went to him and I was like, do you guys actually get the wheelchair accessible porta potties for this race? And he's like, sometimes we may get 1 or 2.
Mm.
But it's like, but you're talking about half marathon course, and you may have 1 or 2 at the start line. What are they supposed to do the other 13 to 26 miles there?
That's a great.
And he, just like I said, it's just something that I never even thought about till I saw it, and I'm like, they were just so excited about something most race directors could do is, if they have a wheelchair athlete sign up for a race. I know I have heard it does, those do cost a little bit more to rent, but if you've got wheelchair athletes signing up for your races,
Yeah.
get one or two at least.
It's interesting. As you were talking about it in December, I'm going to come to you in a second.
Yeah.
The idea of at the start line made sense to me, right? But I didn't think about that there would need to be more porta potties that were wheelchair accessible throughout the race. Like that, as we're having this conversation, that is an aha moment for me. And so I think that, this is just something that we need to talk more about and get more of these conversations into race directors' ears. Now, December, when Krista brought up the porta potty initially, you put a big smile on your face because
Mhm.
there were porta potties at the event. Why? I mean, we could all guess why it's so important, but beyond the use of the porta potty, does it help you feel like you're being seen when there is a wheelchair accessible porta potty at an event, like you were thought about?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just let's just say if I need to go to let's say if I need to go to the restroom, that's when I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta go first, and then somebody somehow there's a person inside. I'm like, why did you do that? So I'm like, that's that's the handicapped, handicapped restroom, and I'm like, you have like 6 or 7 porta potties, and you're like, and you picked up a handicapped stall. I'm like, why did you do that, dude? It's like it, it's it's a I know it's a big space, but it's like it's a pretty it's a pretty good thing that you have like 6 or 7 porta potties ready up, and you picked up like one handicap. Come on,
Right.
it's just like why can't I just have two porta potties and just call call it that, So
Besides having wheelchair accessible, handicap accessible porta potties at a race, what are other things that race directors should not only just consider but actually do so that wheelchair athletes and disabled athletes can feel welcomed at these events instead of feeling like second thoughts, like, oh, we'll just add that in at some point?
I mean, the thing is that I okay this this last race, they they picked out like, okay, mile 4, mile 6, mile 12, and that's it. But if you had like mile 1, mile 2, mile 3 to like 13, that should be good though. But because the marathon that I raced was was like maybe 4, 6, 12, and that's it. And the thing is that I'm like, every like every mile I'm like, I gotta hold it. Like I gotta hold my pee, or And the thing is that I'm just like, I gotta, but the race that I had was like, my bladder my bladder was like causing me pain because this and that. And I'm like, why can't you just go already,
Hmm.
But the thing is that if you had like mile 1 to 13, like quarter parties, that should be good though, because if you okay, per se, if you had like per se, if you had like three para athletes, right? And the thing is, they need like handicap like restrooms and all that stuff. One of the two will go to the restrooms, and that's it. I'm like, okay, that's good, but the thing is that I'm just like, why can't we just have like all para restrooms in mile 1 to 13, other than pick like 4, 4, 6, 12, or 4, 6. 4, 6, 8, 12, or something like that.
Yeah.
So
So you're essentially asking for more on
yeah,
course porta potties as well,
yeah,
not
yeah.
just
For
for the para
yeah,
athletes. Yeah. And
yeah.
are there other things that they can do? So, for example, Krista, I know you volunteer at a lot of races. And
Mhm.
so I'm wondering if there is a necessity or a need for education for volunteers for when handicap or disabled athletes come through those aid stations to help you out. I don't, I'm in an able body, so I don't know what your needs might be, but are there things that volunteers should be educated and trained on to help you out when you're at these events? Chris, I'll ask you that. Like, do you guys have training as volunteers, or is it just one of those
No,
enough athletes and so we don't worry about it?
there's no training to volunteer. It's just here you go. I mean, any race from any of the bigger to from smaller to bigger races that I volunteered at, it's a here you go.
Yeah.
You'll be here. Have a nice day.
How do we
Hmm.
change this? Like, I mean, we are one platform amongst a dozen, if not thousands, of platforms out there, and we're going to get this word out there, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that people hear about these situations, not incidents, these situations, and learn more about December, excuse me. But what can we do? How do we have our voices heard? Have you thought about that? And Chris, I'll start with you on that question because again, you brought December to my attention, and so I know this is something you must be passionate about.
Well, and I noticed too. I noticed because the half marathon that he did Sunday, posted a video the other day of the race of runners and stuff like that. None of the wheelchair racers. There was a picture. I did see the one the photographers did post
Yeah.
one picture,
So,
but they did this whole video that they posted on their social medias. I saw you liked it, December, but it was just the runners. But what about wheelchair athletes? And
Mhm.
you see that a lot. I've noticed that with other races. When I went to with them and at Brookhaven back in, I think that Brookhaven's in August, isn't it? I think,
I think it's
or is it
October
September?
timeframe. I think it
I
was
don't remember. I was in 50K training at that point, so my brain was not functioning, and I think I was getting close to tapering. Um, but like I was out there, I did video. I was taking because I'm a photographer, anyways, so I've done media. So I was out there. I did video. I didn't. I think I did some video of the guy that got first because he set state record for 5K, and that was impressive for me as a runner. But otherwise, I was just taking videos and stuff of the wheelchair athletes, and that was it. Because I thought it's a different world.
Yeah.
You know, they do the same thing as us, but it's different. Even I'm learning new stuff.
Yep.
Um,
Being open to learning is huge. It would be very easy to shut your mind off and ignore stuff and just pretend like it doesn't happen. But being open to learning is huge. December, I asked this question at a roundtable discussion. Krista, I think you were there with Rach McBride and Des Taylor Douglas and Allison O'Reilly.
yes.
Allison O'Reilly is a visually impaired athlete, and Rach is non-binary. And when they go to register for an event, if it doesn't say non-binary, I ask them if they just felt like they weren't being seen, that anything, achievements or accolades, were not recognized, even though they were extremely accomplished. When you go to an event, are there events to this day that still don't have a wheelchair or disabled category for you to register under? That's for you, December.
oh I mean the thing is that if I don't know, it's just I didn't I don't well if you had like if you had like wheelchair like purchase a lot of stuff for the race. I'm like, okay, I'm good. But if you had like, if you had like if you had like, the simple like, you know, one like this race that I did, Summer Norman, if it was like a regular, 5K or 13K, I should I would definitely go for it, but I would have to ask the I would have to ask the race director in Norman if they have like para athletes purchases for that race.
Hmm.
Because if they don't, well, that's the thing. They don't know what's there for them.
Yeah.
And if they don't have them, I'm like, okay, if you have like this for a 5K without this, it's kind of like it's 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 a very it's a very non it's a very non s- what's that word, non associable thing to do,
Yep.
because it's done right there, done.
Yep.
Because y- it's like you want to do this, but there's a lot of people that will like, like join to do their, race and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
it's just like you have to mind yourself to do this, because if you don't, well, it's like you have that mindset of, you know everybody has e- everybody can run at this pace, and the thing is that you don't know about you don't know about the other people that has like disabilities, you know
Yep. I appreciate
so
that answer. And Krista, I'm going to come to you in a second because you nodded your head in with a no when it comes to opportunities for disabled athletes on registrations. But before we do, I had interviewed a gentleman by the name of Vic a number of years ago who is also a wheelchair athlete. And he opened my eyes to a lot of things. One of them being travel, being able to get in and out of airplanes, in and out of cars, in and out of porta potties as an athlete and being recognized. And this was a couple of years ago. And again, we are one small piece of the pie in the running community. But Krista's response when I asked that question of December was a head nod in the negative, which tells me that the progress that has happened since when I interviewed Vic through to today has either been not at all or extremely minimal when it comes to making races accessible to everybody. And that has been the thing that we have built this platform on. This has been the thing that we have been advocating for from the beginning. We want to see more BIPOC athletes. We want to see more queer athletes. We want to see more female athletes. And we certainly want to see more disabled athletes as start lines. And, maybe this is conversation number X, and we still have conversation X to the Y exponent to go before things get changed, but we have to keep moving forward and making changes. So if you're listening to this episode, reach out to your local race directors, reach out to your local run clubs and ask them about inclusion of disabled athletes, ask them about disabled porta potties at events so that we can make this movement happen so that everybody feels welcomed at the start line. Because we often say that all it takes is a pair of running shoes and a pair of shorts. And yet there are so many things that we ignore all along the way, like a porta potty for wheelchair bound athletes, and we don't think about it. And I will be the first to admit, I didn't think about on course porta potties. I thought about ones at the start line. So this is now a conversation that will be in my head, and it's something I'll be talking about with race directors as we move along in the history of this company. So, Krista, to you, you nodded no. So you clearly have seen race registrations and have noticed that there are no drop downs for disabled athletes or for wheelchair athletes. Am I putting words in your mouth, or is that the truth?
That is the truth, because I've ran multiple races, and a lot of them they don't have a, it's 5K, sometimes I'll do like the kids and like the 1 mile and stuff like that. But there's not many that have like wheelchair.
When you see that, especially now that you've come in contact with Denver. By the way, I'm going to change it. The second time I've done that. And you would think it'd be easy for me to remember your name because I was born in December. You'd think it would be
Oh
easy.
wow! Yeah.
But now that you've made friends with December, is it something that you're now looking for when you register for events? And if you go to one and you see that it doesn't have it, are you either emailing the race director, or are you then closing out that tab and going to find a race that you can participate in that does have a wheelchair division?
I am looking at more that are more inclusive anymore. Right now, I'm not running because I'm getting ready to move. But even then, like, the shirt that I'm wearing is from a race. And, there were actually two of the wheelchair athletes that I'd met with December back last year were actually there. There are some, like at least around here, that will have wheelchair registrations. Some of them do not. Won't name names, but
Yeah, no, you don't have to.
there are also ones that's pretty on par with them anyways. But there is still a lot, even looking as far as after I move, I've been looking at races, because after I move, I'm going to start running again. I'm wanting to start looking at races and stuff like that. And even then I'm noticing, there are a bunch that don't have like a wheelchair registration. So, I mean, even if it's the same price as the others, but it gives those race directors account. Hey, well, we've got wheelchair athletes coming.
Yeah,
we can get some of these wheelchair porta potties and make sure we have this stuff for those wheelchair users versus, just having like a straight 5K registration for everybody. It's like, well, then you don't know who's showing up.
right.
You're not going to make any accommodation. There's not going to be any accommodation. So you're going to have these people that are going to be struggling while these people are just perfectly fine. And you start, since I've been helping him and stuff like that, like even I look at things differently with races and stuff, that like running half marathons and stuff like that, and marathons. And it's like, it's just a normal part of it. The process is part of the race. But then you start looking at it and it's just like, I never even realized that.
Yeah, we can make an impact change. And I'll tell a quick story. When I was registering for the Oakland Marathon, which we ran last weekend, it's operated by Run Local out of Santa Barbara here in California. And when I registered, I clicked on the gender because I wanted to see if they included non-binary, and they did. And I also clicked on disabled, and they had a disabled category as well. I was blown away that those were included. And I posted about it on Threads, and Karen Pruitt, who is Caleb Pruitt's mom, and Caleb has Down syndrome, replied to me and said, I wonder if they will ever include IDD in the drop downs. And so I said, I don't know, I'll find out in email. I have no problem doing that. And I emailed the race director, and it felt like moments, I'm sure it wasn't that fast, I got an email that said, can you connect me to Karen, because I'd love to talk to her further about this. What are their needs for a Down syndrome athlete and all these other things? And so I connected them, and I also connected him. His name is David Monaco. I connected David to Allison O'Reilly, the visually impaired athlete. And David was so open about we're not perfect. We're learning. We're working our way through this. And I think that's all people expect, is that you're not perfect and you're willing to learn and work your way through this and incorporate new things. And so I would not be surprised if other run local events going forward now include some IDD opportunity, as well as more conversation about visually impaired. They were actually talking about parking for the visually impaired athletes and other disabled athletes, which is another component to all of this. In December, I'll ask you about that. So, as a disabled athlete, if a race has a category for you to register as a disabled athlete, are they also making accommodations for you when it comes to parking at the event, so that you're not traveling so far to get to the start line? In addition to the, so porta potties is one thing, but now we're talking about parking accommodations.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that this last race that I did, um the Sunday, they were like, oh, about maybe a month ago, I mean, couple weeks ago, and all that stuff. They were like, oh, okay, I'm not talking to me. And then in some way they were like, so this guy said to me that, what 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 will be okay for you for parking. And the thing is that, parking is OU is pretty OU has a lot of parking, but somehow some way somehow some way someone, like, you know like a like a like like a I don't want to say it aloud, but it's like a stupid person, I guess, and say, park here. What will you do if there's a, what will you do if there's a handicapped person, or or a or a or a disabled person parked next to you, and your mind just says, why, why did I do that? I'm sorry. And the thing is that that's parking parking for me, right next to the race, for me, is pretty good, though, because this race was I this race that I did was very accommodating for me to go to the parking area. And then if I need to go to the restroom, the ADA is like, the ADA restroom is like, maybe from here to, like a yard away, and that's it.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, so
So did you pick this race knowing that they would have these accommodations for you, or was it a surprise?
it wasn't a surprise, but I was like, well, the thing is that, you know everybody knows everybody, right? And the thing is that, Chad, the guy who has the bicycle shop, he has, like, he has buddies that has, like, this and that. So basically, Chad and I were like Chad and I were talking about it, and some way, he knows that person and that person, and then we were talking about it, and just, we were buddies, so everything, like, clicked. So yeah.
Is this an event that's going to be on the registration every year because of how accommodating it has been to wheelchair athletes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Because
so I need you to do something for me. I need you to do me a favor. Who
yeah.
puts on the event? Because if it's going to be accommodating to wheelchair athletes, and if we're not going to talk about the events that don't do this stuff, we should really talk about the ones that do this stuff. So
Yeah.
hype them up. Who puts on the Stormin Norman event?
Well, his name is Trent, and he's the race director. and a pretty, he's a pretty good cool, he's a pretty awesome guy to like to meet and all that stuff. And Phil is the second director. So Phil was like, "Oh, I'm gonna talk to December," and we were talking about it, and stuff like that happens, and being me, being 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 a ADA person, I would have to talk about this and that to them, and they were like, cool. That's I would they would like accommodate me to go even further,
Yeah. Chris, I want
so
to ask you this. So you hear December talking about Trent and Phil being accommodating and welcoming, and December's calling them awesome people. When you hear that, how does that make you feel as somebody who's advocating for wheelchair and disabled athletes? Like, does it make you think that there is opportunity for us to continue to incorporate, disabled porta potties and proper parking and training for volunteers and whatever else that's out there?
Yeah, definitely. And it is good. And like, I don't send emails to people. Like when I was mentioning the porta potties for our big race, I don't send emails. I went right over to him and had a actual face to face conversation with them, and he was really receptive of it. And I've actually went to him a couple times, one of the people a couple times about different things, just because you start learn. The more you run, the more you learn people, and you know who can do what and stuff like that. So I know where to find them. So I won't send emails. I'll just go up. I'll just go up there because one, I'm
yeah.
probably going to go up there anyways to visit or buy something, but I'll go up to say, and we were actually talking, I mean, December, we're talking last week before his race Sunday, because I'm going to spoil it for him, but he's got another half marathon coming up in like
Yeah.
3 weeks. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you're going to have to get there like 4:30 in the morning, because that's our big race in the area. It is a Boston qualifying race. It is a really big marathon. There's a lot of people. I know you're going to have to get there at like 4:30 in the morning to get parking, because there is no special parking at that if you don't get there early, you're going to be parking probably about 2-3 miles away.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
now we do have streetcars, so they'll be running for a little bit, but it's still running like a block away. The drop off, where it's going to drop off to where the start line is at least a block away. So it will be running, so it won't be horrible, but if you get there too late, it shuts down.
Right.
And I've done the race 3 times now. And I look at my medals and count how many times I've done it, because I couldn't remember. But I've done it 3 times now. The first time I did it, I got there maybe like an hour before. I learned my lesson.
Yeah. And you weren't in a wheelchair.
And I wasn't in a wheelchair,
Right.
and I had to, and it is about a mile and a half walk from where I parked to just to the starting corrals.
Yeah, that's a long way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially doing it right before half marathon.
Yeah.
So, and I got there and went with no sleep, my half marathon, because we had tornadoes the night before. So I was waking up, no sleep, having to walk almost 2 miles to the starting line because of where the parking is for that race. And then it started raining. But it's like, I told them, I'm like, you have to get there early, because there is no parking right there by the starting line, because they shut down all the streets.
Yeah.
Streets are shut down, bomb sniffing dogs, the snipers, which is like my yearly game of finding the snipers on the buildings. But it's like you have to get there early. there is no parking sign. I told me it's like you might have to get there like 4:30, 5 o'clock, maybe 5 o'clock in the morning.
Simba, I want to ask you this. We've talked about race directors and accommodations. When you're out on the course, how are the other athletes, how are the able-bodied athletes treating you?
well, this uh, treating me, they are they're like, yay, and go for it and all that stuff. And but at the at the start line, I'm like, people are like kind of, very, very like me, like mean mugging me. I'm like, why do you do that for?
Yeah.
I'm in a wheelchair, and I'm like, dude, this is a race. This is a this is a community race,
Yeah.
and not for, uh, and not for your pride. This is a community race, and if you want to race, let's do it then. Or maybe not, because I'm slow. So I'm slow on attack right now, because I'm slow because of, I don't have, okay, for me, I don't have a racing chair now yet. So I'm trying to be fast before before that before that happens. But I was like, well, people are mean, but the thing is, during the race, people are like, "Yay, December! Yay, this! Yay, go for it!" And all that. I'm like, "Okay, I gotta double up and all that stuff." So, yeah, it's a doggy dog world down there, but it's just like, people are people, And
In this
so,
particular at this particular event, are you starting with all the athletes, or is there a separate time for disabled wheelchair athletes to start?
well, for this Storm and Norman run, I got like 15 minutes head start.
Okay.
That's it. So
That
everything was like, everything for me had to go really fast, because okay, before the race, I was so nervous. I was so nervous that 15 minutes will be like very, very, very fast. Like, my friend said that in like 15 minutes, all the elite racers will be facing down on you. I'm like, okay, Dookie man, I see you there. Come on, 15. Okay, I got you now. I'm like, okay, but I think, well, the thing is that, okay, the race started maybe 7 o'clock, because some way, the cops were like, covering this street, and I'm like, come on, let's go. My tingling is like, ready for it, but I was waiting for it like now. But this is like, I gotta go right now.
do you said Krista spilled the beans and said that you have another race coming up in 3 weeks.
Yes.
Um, is it being put on by the same company? Is it a different company? Do you know what the expectations are for disabled
Um.
athletes there?
No. This is the OKC. This is the OKC marathon. And the thing is, they I think they have like wheelchair race or wheelchair racers coming in. So I think my friend David is going to do the. I think he's doing the 26.2, but I could be wrong though. But he's a he's a pretty fast racer. He has like he has a racing chair. I'm like, dang it, no freedom way, dude. He's fast.
Is a racing chair, Krista, you might be able to answer this. I have no idea. Is a racing chair like the equivalent of having carbon plated racing shoes?
Yes.
Okay.
but more expensive, but a lot more expensive.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
we talk about that. We talk about all our shoes that we get, running shoes and stuff like that, and how much we pay. No,
Oh, it's thousands of dollars for racing chairs.
wheelchair, yeah, and even just parts
Yeah.
are expensive. I'm like, I'm using this one. I can say now when I go buy me a new pair of shoes, they're actually fairly cheap when you put it in
Comparison.
perspective. And if you really want to kind of put things in perspective, the differences, this is kind of funny. Because when I found out he was doing the Storm and Norman doing the half, it's like, we need to start talking about, game plan, like fueling. It's like he wasn't doing any fueling. So it's like,
Yeah.
well, I got to go to the running store anyways. I'll get a couple gels for you to try. But then I got to the running store and I'm looking at the gels and I'm trying to think, it's like, well, what kind should I get? And then it hits me. How is he going to open up a gel when he's using his hands to
Yeah.
use it? So I got 2 packs of
Yeah.
gels, I got 2 packs of chews, and then I got 2 different brands of the powder, like the Morton carb and then I think Never Second carb
Yep.
drink mix. Because I'm like, I don't know what he's going to be able to take
Great
on
point.
course.
Yeah. Great.
It is something I've never even thought of until I started looking at it. I'm like, crap, he might not even be able to open a gel if I get him a
Yeah.
gel. So it's like, let's do a trial run. Just one, because everybody gels, any of that stuff, no matter wheelchair, running, whatever, everybody reacts differently
Yeah.
to the gel fuels and stuff like that. So I thought, I'm like, do it like a mile, just take one, see how it goes, things like that, and see how you can open them and things like that. But it's stuff we don't think of.
Right. So
But
I
like,
will tell you this, we're going to be getting a discount code for first-time purchasers of Tailwind, which is a product that I use. It's about 200 calories in powder that you pour into the water. And so if you're racing with a vest, I don't know how you race December, but if you're racing with a vest or you have a bladder that you can sip out of so that you can still
Yeah.
move the wheelchair, that might be a product that you can use and you'll get a discount on the first-time purchase through us.
Okay.
I was thinking about that too, because I know some races don't allow you to have like the hydration packs and stuff like that. But it's like, where are they supposed to put their hydration and their fuel and stuff
Mm.
like that? I mean, when I do trail runs and stuff, my hydration vest looks like I let a little toddler in a candy store
Yeah.
loose with a bunch of money, I'm
Yeah.
stuff in it. But then I started thinking too, because I've ran it's the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon. I've done all except for the marathon because I decided to skip marathons and go to 50Ks. Um, but tried to give them tips, and I was like, you got to watch out for the water stations. Here's the thing, and it's like runners, because if you go through a water station, especially if you're mid back of the pack runners, we all see the ground on the water station. It's wet, it's filled
Yeah.
with cups, and I started thinking, I'm like, how is somebody in a wheelchair going to do that without like slipping? Because I mean, even sometimes I kind of slide a little bit on that. And I know a lot of people have always brought that topic up, not for wheelchair athletes, but overall about all the cups and everything on the ground. And it's like, how's that going to? Now, I did try talking him out of the second half marathon. I'm like, he was trying to do the marathon. I'm like, no, I'm going to give you the same advice I would give anybody else, including myself. Don't. When you haven't been training long again, and you haven't done a lot of races, going from a half marathon, recovering, trying to build a little bit up, and then tapering again to do a marathon. I'm like, no, not this year. So luckily, he couldn't get in. He's doing the half marathon. I'm like, you know what? I can't say too much about that because
We can protect him. You could say stuff. We can protect him from himself.
oh no, I can't say anything about doing a half marathon because I did a 50K, 5K. 6 hours later, did another 5K. A week later, so I've stacked on races that probably equal the same amount. So, I make bad running decisions. We're all allowed to make bad running decisions.
Yes.
We learn
Yes.
from it. And, I've also learned too, because I've actually reached out to a couple people that the coaching certifications
Hmm.
have nothing for coaching
Interesting.
people with disabilities. I'm like, because for me, it is kind of hard to say, hey, training. It's still weird because I was like, what am I supposed to call it? Is it running? And we were talking about tapering and stuff, and those recovery runs. I was like, I told him he didn't think he was gonna be that sore after this half marathon. I'm like, why? But it's like,
Yeah.
slow runs and jogs and stuff like that. I'm like, but how do I convert that? He started saying, jogs. I'm like, okay, I can use the same terms and stuff.
Same
It's so
terms.
good. But it's like, I'm like, but you're going to have a very, very, very short training window now because you're going to have this recovery.
Yep.
Then you've got to have your taper.
We're
So
coming, we're coming up on the end of the hour here, but I want to ask you this last question. With
Yeah.
regards to having an advocate like Krista on your side, how does that make you feel knowing that there's somebody out there who's advocating for you, who is fighting for you to have representation at these events, to have porta potties, to have parking spaces, all of that stuff? How does that make you feel?
It feels like someone's like hearing my voice, hearing my voice, and it's a pretty awesome thing to do. Krista, I've known her for like maybe a couple years, and she's amazing. 5.
yeah, because Jason was asking me about this before you joined, how we met, and I told him about drifting, and that was about 5 years ago when I first started going out there.
Yeah, of that. Yeah, 5 years, and she's pretty good with pictures and with the drifting. And I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. And now Chris is a pretty great. uh, She's 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 pretty strict on things, and the thing is that I I love that.
It's awesome.
I am
So
strict because
yeah.
I have learned my own mistakes, so I don't want somebody else making same mistakes.
Ah,
I could never be a coach because when I make bad running decisions, but I
yeah.
also learned from some of this stuff. I've DNF races, things like that. I have learned these lessons, so I kind of teach from more of my experience
Perfect.
and the stuff I've done. It doesn't, and everybody's going to be different. Like, I don't know. And that's why I reached out to a couple people that had went through the certification coaching. Cause I'm like, I don't know how like coaching and like training plans would differ
Yeah.
as far as that. Cause especially if he's wanting to do, with December wanting to do a full marathon, getting a little bit better training plan than every once in a while. And unfortunately, that does include hill work, and everybody hates hill work. I don't know very many people that like hill work, but it's like I reached out to people. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, it's huge.
we'll
I mean,
we'll learn this as we go.
you're opening my eyes to a lot of things that I hadn't considered before, and I would say that I thought I was more educated in this space than I'm not. And it started with having porta potties throughout the course and not just at the start line. I've always thought about having wheelchair, handicap accessible parking spaces so that there are opportunities for those athletes to get to the starting line. But I didn't think about coaching. I didn't think about how do you open a gel when you're in a wheelchair and you're running using your hands and your arms and your shoulders and trying to eat a gel at the same time. Like, there's a lot of education that we all still need to have. And I'm glad that you brought December to my attention, and thank you for being such an advocate for it. I appreciate both of you. I'm gonna ask my food question to both of you. I'm gonna ask December 1st. Krista, you can put it in your pocket and hear his answer before.
Oh boy.
So December, the closeout question If
Yeah.
there's a tray of brownies that has come out of the oven and it's sitting on the counter long enough that you can cut into it without making a mess, are you going to go to the corner of the brownie tray, to the edge of the brownie tray, or to the middle of the brownie tray for the ooey gooey?
For me, I like the crust into it. So basically, on the side, I guess. On the side, because of the crust. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
love it.
So.
Krista, how about you?
I'm the middle. I like the middle ones.
You want all the ooey gooey part?
Yes, because especially if they're warm and then you add like ice cream and some caramel on it, the middle is just that much better.
So let me ask you this. Are you going to go into the middle piece and then just leave the edges there for everybody else to work around? Or are you going to take the edge out, give it to December, and then take your middle piece out?
I have been known to take all the middle pieces out and leave the rest for everybody else.
Oh wow!
I have
Krista,
done that
come
many
on.
times.
Come on, really?
Hey,
Come
some people
on.
like the edges, so they can have their edges. I'll have my middle. We're all happy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I see then.
You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Fireside Chat. I appreciate you too. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later, Jason.
See ya.
See ya. For those of you that have stuck around and listened to this all-important question, thank you so much. Time is the greatest gift that we can give to each other, and you gave December and Krista the gift of your time. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to ask you to take action. Go check out your local running store. Talk to them about anything that can be done for handicap and wheelchair disabled athletes in terms of run clubs that they may be putting on. Check out your local race events and organizations and talk to the race directors. Look at their registrations. Do they have options for disabled athletes to register and have a separate category for them? And then ask them about the porta potties and having them not just at the starting lines, but throughout the course. Ask them about the handicap parking so that disabled athletes have access to starting lines that they can get to without having to deal with the rush and the massive parking that may take place throughout the start before the start of an event. Excuse me. If you're a run coach and you're RRCA certified, or you're USCA certified, or if you're a triathlon coach and you go through the Ironman U certification program, talk to the people that have given you that certification and find out if there are ways that we can start to incorporate training plans for disabled athletes. These are sports that we always talk about, everybody belongs. Well, then let's start putting our words into actions and start proving that everybody belongs by talking to people and making a movement out of this and not just letting somebody else handle it. Let's all be Krista's to the athletes like December. She's advocating for him. She's an ally for him. She went to the running store for him to check out gels and goos and powdered carbs so that she can help him along the way. Let's all act like her so that athletes like December feel welcome at our events and are capable of racing right alongside of us and not feeling like they have been forgotten. So that's your homework. I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with me. I will see you next week on the next Fireside Chat. Have a great one, everybody.